That sounds good. Okay.
Cool. Oh, am I on mute? Yeah, cool. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. If other people join in along the way, I think the rooms aren't open, so they can just jump in as and when. So me and Em wanted to, I guess it was kind of an idea that I had to create a workshop, and we've both got, I guess, like a different set of skills that we wanted to share with everybody that we think together would be quite powerful for people, I guess, not just with vestibular disorders, but with anything going on with the body, to be honest. So we've got a few different sections to the workshop, so we're hoping that you can take something away from it, even if it's just a couple of things that you can bring into your toolkit that might just make navigating the kind of craziness of having a vestibular disorder on a day-to-day basis a little bit more manageable. So yeah, I guess if we start off just by sharing a little bit each about like our story, so that you guys can get a bit of an idea of where we're coming from, and like what kind of journey we've been on so far. So do you want to go first? And then
yeah, sure. Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm Em. I'm not sure how many of you I've connected with before, but I'm over at Vestibular_Warrior at Instagram if you guys want to connect after. And my vestibular journey started now over 5 years ago in the fall of 2016, after the birth of my second son. My vestibular something hit. I was okay one moment, and the next moment my world went sideways, and my symptoms were 24/7 for close to 2 years, with a lot of progress in there. I had a lot of labels thrown at me. I really was super lost the first year what was going on, and then eventually got a vestibular migraine, vestibular neuritis, and probably some triple PD diagnosis in there. So it has been a big healing journey of really fueling health from the inside out, and lifestyle medicine became a huge passion of mine because I felt very disempowered on my journey. When I got a diagnosis, I still was like, well, what can I do to fuel health? I was very wanting to know what I could do to support myself. So I went back to school for holistic nutrition and a plant-based certification. All, you know, if I never worked with anyone, it was okay. It was really like, I'm going to just learn so much to help myself. So I have come through what I call like the tunnel of darkness with the vestibular something. And now I just make it my mission to work with other vestibular warriors. So I do vestibular coaching, and just help other people kind of take the steps that they can be empowered to move through it. So I'm grateful for it at this point. But it was really dark, as I'm sure all of you can understand at times. And I think that if we have light and hope and things that we can focus on, like we'll talk about in this, it makes just a monumental difference on the journey. So yeah.
cool, thank you. Yeah, so I kind of have, I guess, a similar journey. I always, when I speak to people, I always get the impression that there's like a similar kind of phase in their lives that they end up having this, normally after some sort of really stressful event, or when you've got a lot going on. And mine was, I used to be a primary school teacher. I was super stressed, really running my body into the ground. And I just hit a wall, and everything kind of came crashing down. And when I look back now, I wasn't surprised that that was where my body ended up going. Almost surprised that it didn't happen sooner, because I wasn't really looking after myself at all. But I do think it would have happened anyway at some point in my life. I think it was just a matter of when that trigger was going to really kick in for me. So I'm 4 years now with vestibular migraine, 4 years in this month, actually 4 years. And similar to Em, I had a really rough initial start to it and could not see the light at the end of the tunnel at all. I was just in such a dark place. I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't do anything by myself. I felt like I lost everything that was like me. Like Emma had pretty much like gone. I didn't recognize myself anymore. So it was really a case of finding something little by little to get myself back on my feet again. And that first year or so was really tough, because I just was like, I thought I was the only person in the world that had a vestibular disorder. And I think you mentioned before, that like the word vestibular, you don't even know it exists until you end up with a vestibular disorder. So yeah, I've gone down all sorts of routes for, you know, getting to where I am now, and I'm still not 100%. I would say I'm about 75% a lot of the time, which is, I would take that any day of the week over the 10-15% that I was at the start. And yeah, it's been, I mean, I've had a mixture of medication and, you know, stuff through the hospital, but I've mainly done a lot of lifestyle changes, and obviously the yoga and everything has been a massive part of my journey. And then yeah, I kind of left teaching when I was in sort of the first 6 months of the kind of chronic phase, and now I'm qualified as a yoga teacher. My life's completely changed and tipped upside down, but it's all positive, and I'm super happy with the direction things are going in, and I know that I'll get there eventually, and that there's still lots of healing to be done. So yeah, so that's like a little bit about where we're coming from with the vestibular side of things. So just to start off with, I'm going to do a little bit of a meditation and some gentle stretches. So you're very welcome. And I think you've already got your cameras off anyway, but you're very welcome to have them on or off for the duration of the workshop. And I'm going to turn my camera off just while I'm doing my meditation, just so that I can focus a little bit more. And then I'll pop it back on when we're doing some stretches in a second. So wherever you guys are sitting at the moment, I just want you to sit up nice and tall and see if you can start to relax the shoulders away from the ears. Closing down the eyes if that feels comfortable for you from this position. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, you can just bring the eyes down to a soft gaze. So just kind of looking in the direction of the floor. Just allowing the face to relax. Really seeing if you can switch off any areas of tension that you're holding on to. And just allowing the breath to slow down with everything else. And just knowing that wherever you're at today, emotionally, physically, that's very welcome here today. So all feelings are welcome. We're not trying to change how we're feeling or push any feelings away. We're just acknowledging that they're there. And then we're going to return back to the breath. And just starting off by noticing some of the things that are going on around us. So, are there any things around you that are making a noise? What can you hear? Perhaps it's a ticking of a clock. It could be some traffic in the background. Just noticing these sounds. Again, not trying to push them away or labeling any of these sounds as good or bad. And then moving into our sense of smell. Are there any smells around you today? So it could be the smell of fresh washing. It could be a candle. It could be some food that's cooking in the kitchen. And then moving to the sense of touch. So staying in the same position, but just seeing if you can feel anything on your body. So it could be the clothes that are touching your skin. It could be the weight of the body on the chair or the floor or the bed. Could be your hair just hanging down by the ears, just brushing gently on the neck. Just noticing how the body feels today. And then coming back into the body and the breath. We're just going to slowly work our way through the body, starting off at the crown of the head. And as we approach each area of the body, we're just going to send a little signal to that area of the body that it's okay for it to switch off and to relax. So starting off at the head, can you relax the space between the eyebrows? Can you relax the tongue from the roof of the mouth? Can you relax the jaw? Bringing your attention down towards the neck and the shoulders. Are you holding on to any tension here that you can let go of? And then moving down to the chest and the ribs and the stomach. See if you can send a little signal to this area that it's okay to switch off and relax. And then moving down to the hips and the legs. Are you holding on to anything here that you don't need to anymore? Can you switch off every muscle in those areas of the body? And then the arms and the hands to finish off. Are you holding on to anything here that you can let go of? Any muscles that are tensed? Any sensations here that we can release? And now just imagining the entire body in full relaxation. The body might feel quite heavy. It might feel quite comfortable. And then just moving your focus back to the breath once more. And if this doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can just continue breathing as you are. But if you are comfortable to take part in a short breathing exercise, just staying exactly as you are. But we're going to inhale through the nose for a count of 2, hold it for 1 at the top, and then we're going to exhale slowly through the mouth for a count of 4. So I'll go through a few rounds together, and then I'll let you have a few rounds to count in your own head. And if anything doesn't feel comfortable for you at any point, just allow your breath to return back to normal. So we're going to inhale through the nose for a count of 1, 2, hold for 1, exhale through the mouth, 2, 3, 4. Inhale for 2, hold for 1, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, hold for 1, exhale, 2, 3, 4. And then just counting a few rounds in your own head now. And if your mind wanders at any point, just gently guiding it back to the breath. Making this your final round. And then just allowing the breath to return back to normal. Now you might want to just slowly blink your eyes open. I'm just going to guide you through a few gentle stretches that you can do from a seated position, but you're also very welcome to keep the eyes closed if that feels okay and feels quite nice for you. So wherever you're sat, just sitting up nice and tall, nice and straight through the spine. And if any of these stretches don't feel right for you today, then that's absolutely fine. You can just come away from that stretch and just return to your comfortable seated position. So just listening to your body. And if it doesn't feel okay for your dizziness, for your balance, for your head today, that's absolutely fine. So just planting, if you are sat on the floor, making sure your feet are planted firmly on the ground. But you can do these from a cross-legged seated position or just in a chair. So we're just going to bring our nose over to the right hand side in the direction of the right shoulder, nice and slowly. No straining, no forcing the neck to be in a place that it doesn't feel comfortable. And then on the inhale, bringing it back to center. And on the exhale, sending it slowly over to the left. A few more of these now. So the inhales, bring your nose back to center. And the exhale slowly brings you over the other way. Seeing if you can relax the shoulders as you're moving through these stretches. And making this your last one. We're going to be bringing the right ear to the right shoulder. But again, if this makes you feel dizzy, you might just want to do a micro bend in the neck rather than coming all the way. But sitting up tall once more. On the exhale, just slowly bringing that right ear down to the right shoulder. So if that's just a small bend for you, that's absolutely fine. Just seeing what feels comfortable for you today. Seeing if you can relax the shoulders away from the ears. And then we're going to inhale slowly to center. And then exhale, taking it over towards the left. Again, only going as far as feels good for you. And if this is too much, you can always just take that stretch that we took at the start. So turning the head from left to right instead. One more of these on each side, just going nice and slowly at your own pace. And then returning that head back to center. We're going to bring the hands and fingertips just onto the top of the shoulders. And we're going to be taking some shoulder rolls. So we're going to start off by bringing the hands, the elbows, the arms towards the front of the body. And then inhale, bringing them up and round, keeping the fingertips on the shoulders. So as if we're drawing big circles with the elbows. The inhale to bring the arms up and the exhale to allow them to come back down. And then taking it in the opposite direction. So elbows come up the back of the body. And then exhale to bring them down the front. A couple more of these. And then just allowing the hands to come down. It might feel quite nice to just bring one hand to the chest and one hand to the stomach. We're going to take 3 deep inhales in through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And on that exhale, we're just going to really sigh and let everything out. We're going to let go of anything that you don't need anymore, anything that you're holding on to mentally or physically. So inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh out. Make it nice and loud. You've got your microphones on mute, so you can be as loud as you need. One more. And then just allowing your breath to return back to normal. And then blinking the eyes open if they weren't already. And just letting the hands rest into a comfortable position. Thank you, guys. I'll just pop myself on mute, and then I believe Em's going to just talk to us a little bit now about mindset, if that's okay, Em.
Okay, so mindset for me, when I was in the deep throes of it, I felt like it was like one of those very simple sounding things that maybe I would just ignore, like it wouldn't really make an impact. But I came to find out that cultivating a belief in healing and that I was okay regardless of the stage of my vestibular something, even in the midst of like pure chaos, became really empowering along the journey. But it kind of came down to first like being just in the moment with how I was feeling. And that's where this meditation or this, we can, what we just did with Emma can play a huge role. I just had to sort of feel the chaos. Like my nervous system felt like it was on fire. I felt so in fight or flight state. I didn't even know where to start. And when I sort of just felt it, rather than like running away from it, just feeling it and then realizing, okay, I'm still here. I'm still standing. I can still come through this. That became something that I had to practice every day, though. It wasn't something that I woke up being like, I got this, this is awesome. Like the mindset piece is definitely something I had to practice. And this gets into like neuroplasticity. If that's something that any of you are familiar with, you might have read like Rock Steady is a great book. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. And that is like sort of retraining our mind. But just imagine wherever you are with your vestibular something, if the fear piece were to be removed, like if you just felt like, yes, I'm going to be okay. For most of us, that takes a huge weight off our shoulders. So if you can kind of give yourself moments of that bliss, like whether it's doing the sort of stretches that Emma just did, or going into, even if it's like a 3-minute meditation, but like focusing on how you want to feel. So you're familiar with what that feeling is. And you might have to bring up like a past memory or something to like bring in that. But when you start to focus on that, then your mind can tune into that and your mindset will start to shift because you will start to realize I am okay. Like even in my worst moments where I feel like I can't get out of bed, I can't walk, I can't do anything with this vestibular stuff, I am okay. But it definitely takes practice. And the only reason I briefly touch on mindset is because I do think it's the thing that creates so much freedom for people. Like it's a difference between, it really doesn't even matter what your symptoms are. Depending on where your mindset is, like this is a mind game, this vestibular stuff, much more sometimes even than the physical symptoms. It is a huge mind game. So just starting to explore like whether your mindset is hurting or helping you might even be the first step. Like we're even just thinking, how I'm thinking, is this serving me each day? That can start to open doors for you to start a shift where you want it to go. So, and Emma, you're welcome to tag along and say.
Yeah, I think I've had a similar thing with mindset, is that it takes a long time to get into that good mindset, that kind of more positive mindset. But when you get there, it does make a huge difference. And I think the mindset is the hardest thing to deal with in those really dark days, because all you can think about is my life is over. This can't be me forever. And it just feels like there's just no way out. But then after that initial phase and you're like, oh, I can actually do this. And I think for me, it was putting myself outside my comfort zone was something that really helped me shift my mindset. So, I didn't think that I could go ice skating, for example. And then I go ice skating and I come home and I'm like, I've just been ice skating. I didn't think I could do that. And I think then you get that confidence and then you realize that things are getting better and life is getting better.
Yeah, it's proving to yourself that you can do things. And it might be small things. It might be walking to the mailbox at first. Like when I was a few years in and I was like, I want to be on the trails again. Like I want to run again. But I set no expectation for myself. Like whether I run 10 steps and then have to like sit down or walk, like I wasn't going to put how it had, like if we remove how it has to look and just start like being in this moment with it, that takes away so much expectation of like, you can start to focus on the moment with your mind. Like, what am I doing today that I can help myself?
Yeah. And I think as well, comparing to where you were and thinking, could I have done this a year ago? And you can really feel how far you've come when you can do, and even if like you say, it's like walking to the end of the road and back, or walking to the shop and back. If that's something that you couldn't do when you first had it, then you've made progress already, even in that small thing. And it's really hard to explain that to somebody else, that like it's a big deal that I managed to go to the shop by myself, but it can be a really big thing. In fact, going to the shop is one of the most triggering things that I do, I think.
Oh yeah, those bright lights. Most people I talk to, that's like the worst thing.
Yeah.
One of the
worst. It seems so simple, but yeah, thank you. So I'm going to briefly now touch on kind of the nervous system and yoga, and where I've kind of found my healing and my journey with yoga, and why I think it's one of the most powerful tools that you can have with chronic illness, but I think especially a vestibular disorder that causes so much anxiety and so much stress. So I just remember being, I had that anxious feeling you get in your chest and in your like stomach, that butterflies feeling. I had that for like 6 months and it just didn't go. And I felt sick. I think that was just anxiety that I felt sick. And I felt so nervous and on edge all the time because it was just that uncertainty of where am I going. And then I would notice that when I was then getting more anxious, that then the symptoms would step up, and then you can see this direct correlation between the two.
Oh yeah.
And I think you can't. I think one thing causes the other, and that one causes that one, and it's just like this big circle that never ends. So where yoga kind of comes into it is it interrupts this kind of chronic loop that you're on. So when I was doing my yoga teacher trainer, it was actually only last year. So I had my vestibular disorder. So I was learning about, yoga, and this is something that really hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, this makes so much sense why yoga and meditation is often recommended. Because I think we mentioned when we did our little chat on your YouTube, that you often get given yoga meditation as like a thing from like your doctor. They'll be like, oh, you should do some yoga, some tai chi, some meditation. And there's no, apart from the balance element, there's no real context as to how that can benefit you in a more powerful way than just the balance, which it is obviously great for. So with the nervous system, to put it super simply, there are two elements that work together in the nervous system and create a balance in the body. And that's the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is the part of the body that allows you to relax, to heal, to recover. It allows all the bodily functions to work as it should: your digestive system, your reproductive system, your healing system, everything in the body that you want to work, it allows it to do that. When you're stressed, when you're anxious, when you're overwhelmed, that's when the sympathetic nervous system is basically switched on, and it's in full blast. It's, your whole body is just in this complete panic mode, which you might have heard it called fight or flight mode. And back in caveman kind of days, that was a survival technique. It was something that your body has adapted to save your life, basically. And now we are perceiving things such as a job or workload or a health problem or vestibular disorder as life-threatening, fight or flight survival mode. And because you're so stressed and overwhelmed and anxious about your health, your body goes into this panic and this survival mode where it stops certain things from working as it should. So your heart rate starts to go up, you might feel a bit warmer, and then your body then, as a result of that, the healing ability will slow down. Your digestion might feel a bit funny, which is why when you're nervous, you might be going to the toilet a little bit more. So it kind of throws everything out of sync, really. And I think for that first 6 months of my really, really bad phase before I was able to start doing stuff again, I think I was just in that mode for like 6 months straight.
Oh yeah, me too. Like longer than that, for me, for certainly. And I came to realize that also includes what some of you might experience is the freeze state is in there as well. And so if you're dealing with derealization or depersonalization, which was one of my biggest symptoms, that is in that fight or flight parasympathetic state as well. Your body's you're frozen.
Yeah. And it can be really hard to get yourself out of that state.
Yeah.
And it's finding some techniques to break that cycle of fight and flight, and basically to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what we want. And this is where the yoga comes into it, because yoga meditation actually can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And the great thing is you can't have both turned on at the same time. You can't be sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic at the same time. It's normally one or the other. So it really allows all of your body to kind of come back to itself and to restore its regular function. And an even kind of more simple way of putting it, which again really hit home with me when I was having this explained to me on my teacher training, was that when you're stressed, do something that you would never normally do during times of stress. Lie down, close your eyes, yawn, do yoga, take some deep breaths, because the last thing you would do if you were faced with a tiger is lay on the floor and close your eyes. So by doing that, you're telling your body, okay, well, I'm actually not in danger anymore. I'm actually safe. And then that's when the body starts to calm down and that state of fight and flight can pass. So whether that is meditation, whether that's breathing exercises, whether that's stretching, all of those things tell the body that you're safe and allows your body to calm down, to relax, and then it kicks back into healing mode. And then that's when I notice that I can go into a yoga class feeling really dizzy, really overwhelmed, and someone goes, is yoga the best thing for you right now? And I'm like, yes, it is, because it's going to calm everything down, and I just take it at a slower pace. So yeah, it can make a big difference. It's definitely not, the be all and end all. It's not going to make everything go away, but it can give your body a chance to breathe, basically. And for me, it takes the edge off. So a couple of things that I do when I'm out and about, because what I've found is that my anxiety goes up most when I'm kind of out the house, and I'm moving around, and I could be in a supermarket, I could be waiting in a queue to pay for whatever I'm buying, and I try and like come into my body a little bit. And what I'll find is that my shoulders are up here. I'm holding onto my jaw like you wouldn't believe. And I'm breathing just in my chest. And I think the first thing you can do is just actively, similar to the way I did in that meditation, is just go, okay, relax the shoulders, just relax everything down. Can I switch off any areas of the body that I'm really desperately holding on to? And then and nobody knows that you're doing it, because you just look like you're just stood there minding your own business. And then if you just allow yourself to take some slow, deep breaths in through the nose, and then really slowly out through the mouth, like that could be a 30 to 60 second exercise, but doing that, you'll straight away feel everything just goes and calms back down. And I do that most days, when I'm out and about, and it's kind of reminding yourself to check in and go, am I doing this? Because if you're doing this, you're telling your body that it's not safe. So if you can do that, and it could be, I've done it when I've been out for a meal with friends, I've been at a restaurant and I've been like, oh, Emma, you're making yourself anxious here. So just trying to relax everything down and bringing that awareness into the body and the breath, seeing if you can breathe into the ribs or the stomach rather than just up here. I think having those little techniques that you can just apply to your everyday life will make a big difference, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was my little bit about yoga, and I think Em's gonna chat a little bit about like kind of like lifestyle and
totally.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on diet, but I'm going to quickly bring in oils to piggyback on what you were saying, because they are 100%, I'm talking about pure plant essential oils, what I use to interrupt symptoms, and everything that you just mentioned, I would do that. And then I would pair it with an oil, because that strengthens the connection that it makes with your nervous system. So if you haven't read my books, I can send them to you guys if you have, just for being on this workshop. But I would like sit, and if I was having that moment that like you just described of like the chaos is soaring, and I would take an oil and like put it on my wrist and breathe it in, and it gets into your limbic system and your nervous system, and it is a trigger to my mind of like, I'll relax. And I would use like a blend, this peace blend that was very soothing. So it's a way, that's how I love using plant medicine. It's a way to interrupt symptoms. It's a way to trigger to your nervous system, like, okay, let's move into the parasympathetic state. And it takes doing it habitually. So it's not like one time you do it and then it's like magic. It's practicing doing it over and over, to the point that then when you're just smelling the oil, or you get in the rhythm of actually you're about to apply it, your body starts to go into that relaxed state. And that's the whole thing, like you feeling empowered out in your life with your vestibular something, feeling like you can move about, and you have a toolkit of things that you can do that are going to support you regardless of the storm of what happens with your vestibular something that day. So the breathing and, the checking in of where your body is. And then if you like using plant medicine, you can level up with that. And that can be super fun. So that's just like quickly touching on oils. I'm going to send you guys my guide after this, so that if these sort of things, plant medicine and all that, interest you, I'm happy to talk more about it. And it's been a really fun area for me. I first started using oils back in 2016 because I had no doctor that was giving me anything that I could do. And I was like, what can I do? I want to do something. And so I started using them for mind and body support. And that could mean, like right now I'm diffusing like a citrus blend as we sit here. It's uplifting, it cleanses toxins. It's good for the immune system. You can use oils topically, you can use them internally if you're using pure oils. The same way you would look at diet as like the foundation of fueling health, you can do that. So that's just a fun thing that I'll quickly touch on. But I did want to touch on diet because that is one of the biggest things I probably talk with people about. And this is looking at really not like, where do I have to be restrictive and where does this have to be a chore, but where can I look at nourishing the cells, my body from the inside out? Because regardless of the vestibular label that's been thrown at you, whether it's vestibular migraines or vestibular neuritis or the whole slew of, labels you might have, when it comes down to it, well, one, we don't want to feed inflammation in your body or any other underlying toxin thing you might have going on. And we want to give your cells the macronutrients and everything they need to do their job. So on a very basic level, oftentimes people are deficient in certain things, or if you're dealing with, I know I was dealing with a high toxic load, which is a common thing for people, or some viral thing like Epstein-Barr, this is looking at root cause. Where do we not want to feed that? Where can we just nourish our body so that we can support putting our body in that parasympathetic state so it can support healing? So this is just on a basic level. Let's look at real food to start, okay? Like how much of your diet is real food? How much is coming out of a package that is laced with lots of sugar and vegetable oils, which are super inflammatory and processed junk? And how much is just food from the earth? And this is not even like, you don't need to be vegetarian or one way or the other. I would encourage you to actually listen to your body and what works best in your world, but real food and plant forward. And just this shift like that can be super grounding. Like I know when I first gave up having a lot of white sugar, I felt kind of like crazy at first. Like I was like, yearning for it and feeling a little on edge. And then as I've embraced over the last 5 years, truly like a whole foods, plant-powered diet, it creates a sense of grounding that you can't describe because it really does change the cells in your body and it changes your gut. And if we're talking about gut health, that the vagus nerve runs from your gut to your brain. Okay. That's inflamed if you're dealing with a vestibular something. So let's not add to the inflammation and the fire. Let's do what we can through lifestyle to calm that inflammation. So that's just like lightly touching on diet. I'm going to give you guys some information. And if this interests you, I would be more than happy to work with you deeper. But let's come back to nature would be how I would sum this up. Where can you turn to nature to support you? And that comes through the food you eat. And maybe let's leveling up with a holistic toolkit. And then everything that Emma did today of grounding, that's just coming back to you, nature, to your natural state. And with the vestibular stuff where it's where chaos, right? It just feels crazy. We're just trying to bring you back to who you are, at truly your soul level, who you are in this grounded state. And this is where lifestyle medicine and all of this really can change your world. Not like an overnight fix, but just through time and bringing it into your life.
Yeah, I would say I've kind of found the same. I think when I first started, I was thinking I've got to completely change everything. I've got to take, and then it feels really, I guess, restrictive when you're first going into it and you're used to eating in a completely different way, and really high pressure. And then I found that, like you said, changing those little bits and making those changes bit by bit makes it more manageable. And I know for a fact that if I have a day where I practice yoga, I get 8 hours sleep, and then eat well, I eat, like you're saying, food that's from the earth, I know that my symptoms are going to be better. So much better. So I think it's making those good decisions one after the other. That's the way I see it, is what good decision can I make next for my body? What's the next good decision? And then not being too hard on yourself if you're not perfect all the time.
Right.
Because again, that was something else I struggled with. I was beating myself up if I had a chocolate bar or something. And I'd be like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. No. So it's just those little changes that's kind of you can make, I think, along the way have been really helpful.
Yeah, I should touch on quickly that when you're making these shifts, it doesn't always feel good at first. Like there might actually be some detox, a lot of us when it comes to diet, especially. And if you bring in, like if you're using whole food supplements and you're using a holistic toolkit, even with when you try to do this meditation at first, your body might actually kick and scream and not want to be sitting in that state. And that's all part of, like, the body's going to fight to be in that sympathetic state. Like it likes that hit of anxiety and fear. So like, if we can look at like feeling bad as not actually a bad thing always, just like a transition to this next chapter, that's something to think about too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think touching on what you've just said is that it's like your body's just trying to keep you safe. That's all it's trying to do. It just wants to keep you safe. So when you're feeling super dizzy and then the anxiety kicks in, and then you like say you're almost fighting against it, it's because your body's going, I need to keep you safe. Something's going on that's really scary. And I think having that kind of gentle approach to your body and actually having that, well, actually, it's trying to just help me. It thinks it's saving me, even though it's making me feel worse. I think that's kind of, I guess, coming back to the mindset that you mentioned is I had a lot of anger about my body, and I was so angry that why is this happening? And I was angry at my body, and it does take a while, I think, to make these changes and make these shifts. And yeah, I think it's just taking little bits and just putting it into your day, whether that's, making a really nice lunch for yourself, whether that's doing a 10-minute yoga in the morning, whether that's like having your little oils in your bag. Like there's so many little bits in your toolkit that you can just have to make
It does not have to be monumental. Like it is the little things that will create health. It is not, one swooping good day. It's lots of little things over many, many days to create vibrant health.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, I think we're going to be finishing up really soon, but I just wanted to finish off by kind of giving we'll kind of share what we're going to be doing, I guess, for Vestibular Warriors over the coming weeks, months, and then if you guys are interested, we can always follow up with an email with any links that we mentioned. But do you want to go first and kind of
talk absolutely
about what you've got on offer?
Yeah, so I'm going to send you guys a lifestyle guide you can look at, and bring in what resonates with you. There's no like right way. My way is not the right way. It's going to be what pieces work in your world. And I'll send you my second book, Creating Bliss in Your Life with a Vestibular Something. I can just send you the e-copy, but it like goes through all the topics that come up with Vestibular Warriors all the time: fear, setbacks, like everything that we've kind of sort of touched on here. So I'll send that over to you guys within the next day. You'll get that. And then if you are looking for deeper support, I work with people again in holistic nutrition consultations or wellness coaching. If you just want someone to help you move through your vestibular something and then level up with lifestyle medicine, that is like my passion. I want you to walk away feeling empowered and like you got this. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I work with people around the world. But you can find all my resources over on the Vestibular Warrior YouTube channel. I've been sharing my journey for the last 5 years. I'm on Instagram, and we'll link that up for you guys. And then my website is bliss-out.co. And if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I'll sending you resources. And again, that's like my hub of resources. I basically took like everything that's helped me and just like put it all over there. So I hope that something on there like resonates with you and will be a light for you on your journey. But just know you're not alone in this, and that like we want to be there and support you. The whole reason, we do this, or I'll speak for myself, is because I've been through the darkness and I don't want someone else to be sitting in that darkness. So we hope, we want to stay connected, and I'm sure that we'll have future things together too.
Yeah, definitely. So I have my dizzy yoga group that I am kind of trying to grow a little bit, and I'm hopefully in the next couple of weeks going to be bringing a regular dizzy yoga class to my yoga timetable. I've done a few free classes, got a bit of feedback from that. And the idea behind that is it's yoga that doesn't involve any upside down positions. It involves no quick head turns, nothing that's kind of those big moves that are going to make you feel nervous and anxious to take part in yoga, and everything that will hopefully switch on the parasympathetic nervous system and bring your body into that really good healing, relaxed state. So I will be sharing details about that soon. I'm planning on doing like a 6-week course that you can sign up for, and then I'll be recording those sessions so that if you're having a bad day, if your symptoms are flaring up, or if you just can't make it because of the time zone, that you can then access it at another point. But like I say, we'll send these details over in an email afterwards if anybody's interested.